the Make, Share, Grow podcast. I'm artist Julie Marriott, and I created this podcast to share behind-the-scenes stories of art, craft, and the creative process. Hey guys! This episode is the second part of my 3-part series where I'm digging deeper into why I love painting so much. Today I'm going to share my next 2 things that I think about when I paint. The first one is the beauty of imperfect marks. Beautifully imperfect mark making in paintings and drawings is an element that I have grown to love. These types of marks can't be scratchy, they can be brushy, thick, or asymmetrical. But to me, they speak about the hand of the artist behind the art, and they really breathe humanity into the piece of work. In the past few years, I've started to make it a priority to collect original pieces of art to hang in my home. One reason is that I want to support and encourage other working artists who are like me. And my other big reason is that I love looking up close and seeing all the interesting little marks and strokes that the artist made. It's kind of like in my imagination, I'm like sitting in the studio of the artist, watching them layer up the piece stroke by stroke. And I'm kind of imagining how the piece was built by looking at all the interesting color choices and brush strokes and scratchy. Like I have one piece that the artist drew an underdrawing of pastel of some sort. So there's these great like textural scratchy marks in it. I just love things like that. Original art has such a warmth and immediacy to it that I really value, and a big part of that is those imperfect marks and strokes. So as I'm working on my own in the studio, I have to remind myself to embrace these imperfect types of strokes in my own work. In past paintings, I used to try to reach some sort of perfection of clean lines and crisp edges, but now I really value those unique marks. They're beautiful because they're not perfect and because they're honest. They really just talk about the humanity of the person behind the piece. The next thing that I'm searching for when I paint is the familiar and the magical. As I paint, I like to find an overlap between what is familiar in nature and elements that add a bit of magic. So for the familiar part, I have a lot of fun trying out new varieties of flowers. And I also like getting suggestions from my clients and from just the followers I have on Instagram when I'll ask, hey, what kind of flowers would you like to see in my work? Everybody has a favorite type of flower. We all have different sort of relationships with certain types of flowers that hold memories or, good experiences in our history with them. And so often people will feel really strongly about certain types of flowers that they would like to see in my paintings. And so I love trying these new types. There's just an endless amount of actual realistic, recognizable types of flowers that I can paint, and that will bring different emotions to different people when they see my work. So I love the familiar aspect of actual flower varieties. When I get into the magical side, I like using flowers that are really oversized. I will also create pretend flower varieties too, but I will make blooms that really are not to scale. So if there's a person holding a big bundle of flowers, I don't even really worry if the size of the flowers are to scale compared to the person. I almost enjoy them being oversized because it just adds this really fun kind of what magical world did these come from feeling to the piece. And then I like just creating these kind of hybrid flowers that are like roses or peonies, or they're like anemones with these big dark centers. So I also like just kind of making up flower varieties too that add this sort of otherworldly feel to the piece. I also like to be imaginative in my work through the use of expressive color. I will often incorporate leaves that are blue or turquoise or crazy chartreuse colors, and even pink sometimes. I just really love the magical sort of feel of non-real foliage colors. And I also will do flowers that are crazy colors. Sometimes I'll do turquoise flowers. Sometimes they'll be white flowers with navy blue centers, just kind of exotic and fun and expressive and especially joyful color combinations. I feel like using expressive color helps me take joy in what I'm creating, and also it just adds this fun, imaginative, and magical element to the paintings. The best part of all of this is that there are no rules. That's why I love painting so much. I can create toward whatever makes me feel happy, peaceful, and inspired. That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week as we finish off this series. Thanks for listening to Make, Share, Grow. You can keep up with the podcast and my artwork on my website, juliemarriottart.com, and on Instagram at juliemarriottart.